You have this passion, and I'd like to know what kind of background you have that contributed to the passion. What led to it?
Well, I went to school, I have an undergrad in industrial design, and industrial design is sort of a mix of art and engineering. So I know a little bit about materials, and I know a little bit about what looks good, and I have a passion for things that are unique and artistic, and that are also engineered in such a way.
What part of this artwork was influenced by your education in industrial design?
Well, actually, working with the materials, we did have some metal classes and metallurgy, so we know a little bit about how steel reacts under heat and how you cut it and how you weld it. But beyond that, I like lighting, and we did do some projects in college where we worked with some lighting companies. So I know a little bit about soldering, wiring, lumens, and how to create strange and unique effects with shadows and light. So, any project that came along my shop, back in the industrial design days, certainly little pieces of that I've taken and applied to some of these pieces as well.
And you produced all of this in a metal farm located in Waterbury. I have a few questions about this farm.
I bet.
Now, you said in your website that it's located on the hills of Waterbury. It sounds like it's an isolated location. Just a place where you can go out. There's no disturbance from people, and you can just work. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an old dairy farm built in the 1820s. It is up on a hilltop in Waterbury. When you say Waterbury, most people think of Waterbury, New Haven, Hartford, big cities. This is sort of isolated up on a few acres. I'm very lucky to have this property. There's a huge barn on the premises where I'm able to store a lot of recycled metals that I find. And then I've built up out of the old milk room where they used to store the milk. On the farm is now a welding studio because it has a concrete wall and concrete floors which are fireproof. And it allows me to sort of shut the door and be passionate up on the farm.
Absolutely. Do you have the leftover smell of dairy anywhere in your work? Or
No, I think last cows were there in the 70s, and I shoveled the last of the hay out of there when I acquired the property. So yeah. But there is thoughts, and sometimes late at night, if you're quiet, you might hear the grunt or the moo of a cow.
Okay. That sounds very romantic when you say
yes.
it. Now, how does this farm differ from working in, say, a traditional factory with lots of people? Because I assume you're at this farm on your own and getting to work, and no disturbance.
On the property, I actually run a design firm.
Oh, you do?
With employees, and on Fridays is my day. The place clears out, the welding shop opens, and Friday is my passion day, and that's when I like to start taking some metal and putting it into shape and coming up with whatever I dreamt about the night before.
And when you have these passion days, are they flawless, or do you come across maybe some mistakes?
This is all a test.
Yeah.
This is all play, and if it wasn't an experiment and it wasn't playful and I wasn't learning as I went, where's the passion in that?
True.
So, yeah, of course, you go in and you expect, okay, today I'm going to make this and this because that's what I thought about. I might sketch it out. But as you work and as you move ahead, you make discoveries. And with those discoveries, you end up saying, wow, let me shut off the lights. Let me shoot a light at this. I really like the way that looks. It's not what I sketched, but let's try something different. And let's add a piece of metal here. Let's tear this. Let's plasma torch that. And next thing you know, it's taking off into a completely different direction. And that's pretty common, I think, in the art world as well. But you try to formulate a plan, try to follow that design and that sketch, but it's okay if it goes awry. It's fine.
I want to get inside your head when you create these pieces. Are these pieces inspired by particular life experiences, or do you just suddenly have the creative juice and you just get to work? Like, how do you create these? Because these are magnificent. I mean, these have to come from somewhere.
Yeah, John. A lot of the pieces are a lot of the pieces of metal that I find are donated. I find them behind old warehouses. I go to a few muffler shops. Believe it or not, they've been very helpful in driving this force where I need a lot of tubes. A lot of what I work with is tubular steel that is no longer being used, whether it's from bicycles, automobile exhausts. A lot of it is old scaffolding that's used for buildings, and when they're out in the weather and they're rusting, these scaffolding companies do get rid of their steel tubing, and I'll go in and buy it for pennies on the dollar, and I can work with rusted metal. That's not a problem. Everything you see here was rusted at one time, and I have some examples of that, of how the process starts with a piece of rusted steel that anyone else would just sort of throw away. But my goal is to, recycle that into something that's a little more useful.
Absolutely, and I know you mentioned some of your pieces have the effect of sound and motion. Talk a little bit about that. How do you produce the effect of sound and motion on these pieces?
Well, what you're looking at here are some static lights. Really, they just turn on and off, and they're pretty standard accent lights in the corner of a room that create unique shadows and effects. However, there are a few pieces that I've done. One that's right in front of us here that happens to be lighting up while we're talking. With enough sound in the room and maybe even a party atmosphere, you'll see that this is a neon tube with a sound processor in there. And there's a rheostat, a dial, that lets you adjust it to different volume levels in the room. I've made much larger ones. I've been commissioned to make a few of these for gifts. They're a lot of fun. That's a neon tube that's powered by a 12-volt power supply that's plugged in here behind the table. And when it picks up our sound, almost like an old sound organ, that's how it activates. So the more sound, the louder the sound, it continues to stay lit. There was a large installation I did at UConn Health Center a year ago. UConn Health Center asked me to put in a few pieces in their display cabinet. We're fortunate enough to have John Dempsey Medical Center there, which loves art. They love the art world, and they're always providing for artists and getting them into galleries. And they gave me a call, and they said, "Hey, Mark, can you do a few pieces for our lobby?" Well, I'm not just going to do some static pieces. My goal was to really get people to interact with these strange, amorphic pieces of steel. And I presented this to them, and they said, "Well, how do you expect to do that?" And I said, "I don't know yet. We have 2 months. Give me a chance. I'll figure it out." The end result, and I'll show you at my shop, are some very large pieces. They're about 6 feet wide by 4 feet high. And there is blue and red tubing that runs inside, a lot like this yellow light here. And through a microphone, the red and the blue light up at different decibel levels. You can actually buy a kit that's a sound processing system. You have to solder it all together. That's hidden in the base. No one saw it. I took these curved tubes that almost looked like arteries of the heart, and the red and blue obviously also resembled some bodily fluids. And the idea was to put these microphones right there in front of the cabinet. And the pieces were protected behind glass, but these microphones were exposed. And it was great because as soon as the pieces went in, we're in the middle of the lobby. There's, I think the numbers are something like 3,800 people a day pass through that lobby.
Wow.
As soon as the pieces were in, it had a big arrow that said, "Speak here." We really wanted to draw the crowd. They'd walk up to these things and start talking and tapping on the glass and talking, and you could see the red and blue lighting up behind these cabinets.
Awesome.
A lot of fun. A lot of people got very excited about that piece. So how did I get there? I love lighting. And instead of just a static light, I wanted to explore some things that are a little more active. And like this torso we have back here behind me, which was also done for an art display of torsos, and a lot of artists were painting these torsos to help raise money for heart disease for this one particular victim. And I said, well, I don't paint. I said, how about I make one out of metal? And they said, great, let's have it in the gallery. So I actually, I found an old gas station that was getting rid of their gas pumps. And what better thing to use the steel from than a gas pump when you're trying to portray and talk about heart disease,
Absolutely.
the pump of our lives, right?
Yeah.
So this piece here, it's a little hard to tell with some of the lighting, but it actually is pulsating from red to blue, much in the same manner as those other pieces.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a provocative piece. Obviously, it's being a torso. I think
Yes.
it would be provocative somewhat.
This brings me back to the days of industrial design. When you're in design school and you're studying human anatomy, and you need to make products that interact with the human being, you need to understand muscle groups. You need to understand ergonomics. So this is almost a step back in time for me where we were studying muscles and structure of the body. But now I'm mixing ergonomics and understanding muscles with steel, recycling, and light processing. Even more fun than you interacting with a piece is me sitting back and watching you do it.
Yeah, of course, because when you watch and you see people's reactions, I mean, that's really the best thing, right?
It's a blast. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Speaking of reactions, I'm wondering, like, what has been the response to these pieces, and also, do you have a certain audience in mind?
The early approach to this was, let me make what I can handle. Let's keep it tabletop. Let's keep it in the house, and let's keep it what I think is simple. You know, easy to handle. These are very interesting to the masses. A lot of people can accept something that they can put in the corner of their room and really enjoy. If you produce something that's outrageously large and much bigger than people are used to having as far as an art piece, you'd probably tend to shun off a possible client or someone that's interested in your art.
Yeah.
However, saying that, I have started moving into much larger pieces. These are some of my favorite pieces here. These things that almost look like the head of a Medusa. They're not too sharp. You can keep this in your home without people getting too hurt. They're coated in a two-part epoxy coating that helps protect the steel.
Yeah.
It also softens some of the edges. And I do like these. I call them twisters.
Okay.
Twisters are great because they don't have a front or back. You can put them in any direction you want it on a table. Typically, I run the cords out the bottom. So if you want to run it this way or run it this way or run it this way. And these are powered by compact fluorescence. They'll last a really long time. They don't use a lot of energy. They don't get hot.
What is the difference, if any, between displaying your work in a nonprofit place such as a museum or hospital versus having people purchase it? Is there a different meaning in each category, so to speak?
Well, sure. You know, if you're in a hospital setting, I wanted to clear it with them first. If it was okay to run red and blue tubes, you know, if that was okay. It related to a hospital. You know, there was some excitement there. There was people walking through. I knew there would be a lot of interaction. Those pieces were made for that display. Even though they're now at my shop, and we can use them in other places, it was designed for that installation. When I'm going to, if there's a customer that would like something specific in their home, in their office, in their corporate lobby, we're going to design for them. I'm gonna produce a piece that fits their needs. It's going to fit their brand, fit their identity. I'm sensitive to that. It's not just art for me. I realize other people have to enjoy this as well. So I'll work around a customer if need be. If it's just a Friday, I've had some great dreams Thursday night, and I'm feeling the juices are flowing.
Yeah.
And I want to have a good time.
Yeah.
I'll make a piece that I love.
Well, I'm envious of your talent here, and I hope you continue to do it as long as possible. The website, once again, is weldedworks.com. This is Mark Colbert. He has a passion for shaping steel. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you so much, John.